Newly elected President Trump has announced that he is going to bring prayer back to schools. This is wild news, and everybody has an opinion about it, especially the left. The left are absolutely losing their minds over this. And should they be? Should they be rejoicing with the rest of us, or are they right? Are they onto something? Is this actually a bigger problem than even conservatives or Christians might be willing to admit? Let's talk about it. Let's first watch President Trump and his announcement to bring prayer back to schools. Pretty wild.
Here are 10 key ideas that will power our movement for great schools. First, we will respect the right of parents to control the education of their children. Second, we will empower parents and local school board to hire and reward great principals and teachers, and also to fire the poor ones, the one whose performance is unsatisfactory. They will be fired. Like on The Apprentice, you're fired. Third, we will ensure...
I mean, love or hate the guy, he's pretty funny. That is straight up comedy right there. So I'm looking forward to some more humor from the White House for sure. That's great
our
stuff.
Classrooms are focused not on political indoctrination, but on teaching the knowledge and skills needed to succeed. Reading, writing, math, science, arithmetic, and other truly useful subjects. Fourth, we will teach students to...
The whole thing about political indoctrination, if I can just say this, because I do want to hear you guys' thoughts in the comments. Maybe you have a child, or you know somebody, or you personally in the school system, you felt like you were not able to actually speak up about what you believe from a political perspective, or from, not agreeing with all the woke agendas all over the place. I've seen examples of students who have felt like they were really being bullied by their teachers or by their peers because they thought differently, because they had a different perspective, especially in the universities. But if you have a personal experience of how you felt, or maybe not just felt, but you have witnessed firsthand, you've seen it firsthand, you've been the victim firsthand of not being able to freely share your perspective because it differs from this massive zeitgeist agenda that's been indoctrinating the entire West. Let me know in the comments if you had a situation like that. Very encouraging to see, though, that schools are coming back to the simple subjects that are necessary to be a functioning member in society. And no longer will schools be these political agenda-based indoctrination camps, which they've been for too long.
To love their country, not to hate their country like they're taught right now. Fifth, we will support bringing back prayer to our schools. Sixth, we will achieve schools that are safe, secure, and drug-free, with immediate expulsion for any student who harms a teacher or another student.
Ooh.
Seventh, we will give all parents the right to choose another school for their children if they want. It's called school choice. Eighth, we will ensure students have access to project-based learning experiences inside the classroom to help train them for meaningful work outside the classroom. Ninth, we will strive to give all students access to internships and work experiences that can set them on a path to their first job. They're going to be very, very successful. I want them to be more successful than Trump. Let them go out and be more successful. I will be the happiest person in the world. But we want our children to have a great life and be successful. And 10th, we will ensure that all schools provide excellent jobs and career counseling so that high school and college students can get a head start on jobs and careers best suited to their God-given talents. This is how we will ensure a great education for every American child. And one other thing I'll be doing very early in the administration is closing up the Department of Education in Washington, D.C., and sending all education and education work and needs back to the states. We want them to run the education of our children because they'll do a much better job of it. You can't do worse. We spend more money per pupil by 3 times than any other nation, and yet we're absolutely at the bottom. We're one of the worst. So you can't do worse. We're going to end education coming out of Washington, D.C. We're going to close it up, all those buildings all over the place, and you have people that in many cases hate our children. We're going to send it all back to the states. Thank you very much.
There are so many different things about this that I think are huge. I'll talk about the faith thing in a second because he threw it in there, and there's going to be some people who are going to really be upset. And in some ways, I understand. I have compassion why people would be upset. Oh, Cap, what about the separation of church and state? The state should not tell us whether we should pray or who we should pray to, blah, 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 blah. And I would tell you, frankly, I agree 100%. The federal government has no right to tell us how and who we should worship. But here's where it gets really interesting. And I think it's important that he's making the comments that he's making, because up until this point, the school systems have actually told us how to worship. They have told us who to worship. They've told us what are the things that are sacred that we cannot speak against, and what are the things that are worth making parody of. And here's the irony of it is that when it comes to the things of Christianity, it's been fair game in this culture for years. At least a few decades, where you can make fun of Christianity, but you can't make fun of any other religion. You can mock Jesus, but you can't mock Islam because that would make you an Islamophobic. You can't mock Hindus. You can't mock these other things. And let me tell you, you especially cannot mock the LGBT agenda. Can I give you an example here? So what's really interesting right now is in the public school system for a little while, there's been all of these pushes to make sure that if, you should feel safe with whatever sexual identity that you want to have in your school. And it's even creeping into more conservative states. I'll give you an example of a woman that I met at the airport just a few months ago. This woman was from Lincoln, Nebraska. I live in Nebraska myself. So a very conservative state, especially Lincoln. And she's in this public school, and she's a high school counselor. And she'd been a high school counselor for 13 years. I asked her, how she's doing, and she said she was actually done. She was done being a high school counselor, and she was moving into some other kind of more medical profession. And I said, oh, really? Well, what happened? She said, I couldn't take it anymore. I got burnt out. And I said, what do you mean you get burned out? Was it because it was too expensive, or you weren't making enough money, or the hours were difficult? And here's what she told me. She said, over the past couple of years, things have just completely gotten out of hand. Number one, the teachers have no respect from the students at all. The students run the show. The students talk back to teachers. The students disrespect teachers. And in some situations, the teachers are actually being physically assaulted by students, and the teachers can't do anything about it. Now, maybe you have some stories I would actually like for you, because there's going to be people who watch this video right here who are going to say that this isn't true and this isn't happening. But the power of your testimony actually sheds light on what's happening across the country. So please do me a favor. Testify right now. If you have a personal testimony of how you have seen this sort of thing happen, whether to you personally or to one of your children or a child's friend or whatever, please put that story in the comments right now. I would love to fill the comments with true stories of things that you've seen personally, if you have them. So she's going on saying how the teachers are just not getting any respect from the students. And then here's where things get worse for her as a counselor. As a counselor, she used to, in the past, deal with students who had drug-related issues. They were kind of struggling with stress, and they started getting into drugs, whether it's smoking weed or taking pills or whatever. But she said over the past few years, the vast majority of the people that come in through her office as patients in this high school counseling office are students that are confused about their gender. And not just confused about their gender to the point where they're a boy and they think that they're a female, but to the point where their gender is constantly changing throughout the day. In fact, so much so that when this counselor is having these conversations with these students over the course of 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or up to an hour, this gender of the child changes multiple times in the conversation. So the counselor can't even keep up. The counselor at one point is told that the individual, the student, is a boy, and so she refers to the student as a boy, and then all of a sudden the student changes and says, no, actually, I'm a girl now, and you should have been able to discern that I shifted my gender. And so obviously the counselor is like, this is becoming too much. And then the counselor leaned to me at the airport and said, I even have had students tell me that they were animals, that they identified as cats or dogs. And I'm like, I don't know how to deal with this. And I asked the counselor, I said, so did you get any support from the principal or whatever? And she was like, no, the principal always goes with the children, the students, they're the ones who are right. And they're the ones who have the authority in these situations. And she said, I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't deal with it. And so you have situations like that. And here's what's interesting is this, my friends, is not merely cultural. It's not a merely cultural phenomenon. It's not a sociological phenomenon. This is a spiritual phenomenon. And what's happening is there is an idol, a false god being erected in the public school system. It's really in the culture right now. And this false god says, do not pass until you bow down. You must bow down before this statue, before this erected statue for the LGBT movement. And everybody needs to bow down to this thing. If you don't, you're a transphobe, you're a homophobe, you're a bigot. And that's where we're at right now. So here's the irony. The irony is that it's actually in a lot of school settings, students, teachers not allowed to talk about religion, not allowed to talk about prayer. For students, they have more freedom, frankly. If you have more insight onto that, I'd love to hear your comments down below. At the very least, for teachers, you can't talk about religion unless a child or a student asks you about it first. But could it be that the reason why we're in the situation that we're in is because we have tried to push God out of everything in the school system? You can't even say the Pledge of Allegiance anymore without people getting upset about the Pledge of Allegiance saying we are one nation under God. Could it be that the reason why we're experiencing all the things that we're experiencing is because we have pushed God out of every element of public society? What if we could come back to this place where the First Amendment, and we believe in what the First Amendment says about every person should have the right to worship the way that they feel called to worship. And that includes Christians having the right to be able to pray in schools, prayer being allowed back in schools, not mandatory, but allowed. I think it would bring revival to schools. I think it would be the one thing that actually helps some of these students who have no discipleship at home, no grid of what it means to even be a man or a woman anymore. Hello, let's bring true biology back to schools. I think this would set a lot of things straight. It would take a little bit of time, but I think it would actually bring a lot of healing to our country. So, President Trump says he wants to bring prayer back to schools. Is this taking us to the direction of a theocracy? I don't think so. But what I do think is, as a Christian, I know that there is one truth, capital T truth, and his name is Jesus. He is the savior of all mankind. He is our one solution for every single problem that we face. But for those that don't believe that, here's what I would tell you. His principles and his ways and his word will benefit all people, even if they don't worship him, even if they don't believe in him. And God, Jesus, doesn't even headlock you into worshiping him. He doesn't make you worship him. He gives you free will. Yet his ways will still benefit all mankind. So I believe that this is going to be a net positive for everybody. And frankly, I'm excited about it. If you're excited about it, let me know in the comments. And also, just as a reminder for all the people that want to be a part of an amazing movement to slow the bleeding of righteousness in this country, I'm not just talking about religion. I'm not just talking about the school system. I'm talking about the world of big business. You can fight and vote for a future that you care about, that's conservative in values and patriotic at its core, by switching some of your shopping every single month that you're already doing anyway. I'm talking about the stuff that you buy every month you don't think about. Cleaning supplies, body wash, deodorant, shampoo, toothpaste. I hope you're using toothpaste. If you want to learn how you can make a switch from shopping from these big box companies like Walmart and Target that are freely promoting these demonic messages, these woke messages that are confusing this next generation, what if you could switch some of your shopping every month, taking money away from those companies and buying from a made in America manufacturer? You can learn more about this opportunity to buy these products by clicking the link down in the description and in the comments. Switchwithkap.com. Click the button on the website here to schedule a free call with my team just to learn more about the products, just to learn more about what it would take to make a switch from shopping from other places. And our team would also love to pray for you on the call as well. No headlocks. If you end up hating the products, this is total risk-free guarantee. If you don't like the products, we make it hassle-free. You can get a refund and make sure that you get all your money back if you don't enjoy them. But I'm pretty sure you're going to fall in love with the products and the difference that you'll be making for your family and for the country. Switchwithkap.com and the link in the description or in the comments in the description. Subscribe for more if you enjoyed this content, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.